Welcome to Health Club with Julia. I'm your host, health coach, and registered dietitian, Julia Campagna. I'm on a mission to bridge the gap between looking your best and living your life to the fullest. After years of over dieting, struggling with disordered eating, and destroying my social life, I finally found how to reach my dream physique without sacrificing the things I love. Now I'm sharing all my strategies and education with you. We'll be talking all things health, including hormones, metabolism, and lifestyle to help you cut out the confusion and start living. So get cozy and join the club. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Health Club with Julia podcast. As always, I am so happy you are here. Today, we are going to break down your habits that are affecting your hormones. And I really do think lately I have been seeing an abundant amount of hormonal conversations on social media, which is great to bring awareness to that. However, I do think that because of this increase in hormonal conversations and how that's affecting, just like how birth control affects your hormones, how your habits affect your hormones, just all of that kind of talk, because there's an increase in it, I do think that a lot of women now are kind of pointing the finger and saying, I'm not losing weight, I'm not getting to my goal, and it's because my hormones are all messed up. And while yes, that could be true for some people, a lot of the times I also do think that it's not necessarily your hormones that is stopping you from seeing progress, but other areas as well. And that's why I always preach and I teach in my program, first step is looking at your daily habits and seeing is there anything actually going on that you're doing on a daily basis that's causing you to not see as much progress as you want, rather than just pointing the blame on your hormones themselves. So I want to talk about how your habits impact your hormones, which can impact your weight loss or whatever other goals that you have. And it's important to know that what you do on a daily basis is going to affect how you function as a human being. And certain things will either help your body function and certain things will not help, or not necessarily harm, but just not help your body function as optimally. And I'm going to go through a handful of habits that I see commonly that can impact your hormones. And this isn't everything. This is not, an indefinite list of things that I'm going to talk about, but these are, like I said, the ones that I see really often with people that they're doing these things and you don't even know that it's causing more harm than good for you. A lot of these things you're doing subconsciously and you don't know the implications of them. And so I kind of want to highlight them today and highlight how they're actually impacting you in a negative way, and maybe taking a look at some of these habits for yourself and seeing, okay, am I doing these things and what can I do to improve this so that I'm not jeopardizing my health and my functioning of my body. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today, and we're going to jump right into it this episode and just go over a couple of these habits that I see most often. So starting off strong with number one, raise your hand if, drumroll please, you talk about how you skipped breakfast or you didn't eat in the morning, almost like it's a good thing, maybe not as a good thing, but you kind of are just like, yeah, I didn't have breakfast, right? And you are only having coffee, right? So picture this, you wake up, you're getting dressed, you're rushing, take a shower, get dressed, get all your stuff together, and then you make your coffee, and you run out the door for work, right? How many people listening to this are doing this? Raise your hand to yourself if that is you. This is very, very common to see, where a lot of times people will just skip breakfast, run out the door with their cup of coffee, and head on out to work, drive to work, sipping on their coffee. Now, there's a few reasons why this will affect your hormones negatively. So, for one, blood sugar regulation. If you want to have regular blood sugar, if you want to just work on managing your blood sugar throughout the day, one of the biggest things that we don't want to do is skip meals, and that includes breakfast. By skipping meals, you have greater spikes and drops in blood sugar, and we don't want that. We want it to be as steady as possible throughout the day, which means having meals at proper times and not skipping meals. So just simply skipping breakfast, for one, is going to impact your blood sugar regulation and can throw things off in that sense. So that can lead to other things down the line. Not necessarily if you do this like every now and then will it cause more issues, but it can lead to things like insulin resistance and other issues down the line if you don't address it and if you do this on a consistent basis. So we want to make sure that we are managing our blood sugar. This is also very important for our hormone health in general, just production of our hormones and also keeping them balanced and healthy and happy. With these big spikes and drops in blood sugar, again leading to some insulin issues, this is going to have an impact on your hormones. So we don't want that. Easiest way, or one of the easiest ways to manage your blood sugar is by not skipping meals. So skipping breakfast, you can, check off, hey, I'm messing with my blood sugar. Second way that this is going to impact your hormones is cortisol disruptions. So we naturally have a cortisol curve in our day, right? Our body makes cortisol. We do need cortisol. So this is another one, just like pointing blame at hormones. This is another one where people just kind of point the finger and say, oh my gosh, I have cortisol issues because I'm inflamed and I have a puffy face. Not always the case, but we do have natural cortisol curves. Everybody does. It's called, when we wake up, first thing, we have our highest cortisol surge. This is called our cortisol awakening response. This is so that it helps us get up, get ready, get energized for the day. We need this spike to feel motivated to get out of bed and get up, get moving, and basically just like have our body turn on post-sleep. So it'll be highest in the morning, and then it will gradually come down throughout the day, where it is lowest right before bed, aka, your body's telling you, hey, I'm getting tired, I need to go to sleep now. So we have a natural curve that, we are supposed to have if cortisol is working correctly. Now, if you have cortisol disruptions, like having coffee first thing in the morning when you're not, out of bed and really up. So again, this is more for people who are jumping out of bed, getting dressed, and running out the door with their coffee and sipping it on the way to work, where you're having it like pretty early on in the morning without any food in your stomach, without really even being fully awake in the morning. If you are having coffee too early in the morning, this can cause a cortisol spike. That's not your natural cortisol spike. So maybe you're waking up, you have that cortisol spike, and then you have another surge of cortisol because of this caffeine. And that's causing a disruption in your normal curve that you should be having. So it can disrupt cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone that is going to impact your sex hormones, again, by just having more of a stress response. That's going to downregulate your sex hormones if done, again, chronically over time, where this is a consistent habit for you. So for those couple of reasons, and there's others in there, skipping breakfast and only having coffee in the morning is going to disrupt your hormone pathways and overall balance of your hormones. So it's the first thing that I want you to check out, make sure that you are not doing. Easiest way to help with this is prep your food, prep a breakfast. I remember when I was in grad school and also working, I had to leave my house at like 5:15 in the morning to get to my internship. And so I pretty much made protein overnight oats like every day. I love them. I'm somebody who loves them. So if you don't like them, there are other options for you. But I remember having to do that pretty much every single day during the week because I was up and out so early, and I would have my oats in the car ride on the way to my internship. And that's just something that was a priority for me. So I would prep your breakfast, have something ready to go, whether that is a smoothie, protein overnight oats. You can make breakfast sandwiches and throw them in the freezer and then just pop them in the microwave in the morning. That's another good idea. But there are tons of ideas for prepped breakfast, yogurt bowls, tons. So I would prep your breakfast and have that before you have coffee, ideally. Bring that to work. And then also, if you're not having breakfast before coffee, I would still prep it and bring it with you. But if you're having coffee first, I would be sure that you're having coffee at least like an hour and a half after you are awake. Don't have it just like within 30 minutes of waking up. Try to elongate that time. Best case scenario, have breakfast first. Second best scenario, if you're gonna do this, is just push off having coffee later in the morning so your body is, kind of regulating itself a little bit more. Next thing I want you to check in with is being overly stressed at work, or just in general. Maybe not even at work, just if you're overly stressed throughout the day. Really check in with yourself and think about when you're at work, when you are just like going through your day, do you feel overwhelmed pretty often? Do you often feel tense? Do you feel that in your neck and your shoulders, that kind of tension? Do you feel like you have a million things to do and your mind is all over the place and you're kind of scatterbrained? What is going on with your stress levels throughout the day? This is really important if you are not taking breaks throughout the day to work on stress relief, or just like have some time for yourself throughout the day. Odds are this can cause some hormonal issues for you as well. So again, going back to cortisol, number one thing that this is going to affect is your cortisol. So if you are stressed very often, if you're really overwhelmed, obviously that is going to trigger your stress response, which is your cortisol, again, your stress hormone. And so when that does increase chronically over time and you are constantly in this state of fight or flight, this can produce actually less progesterone, which, one, low progesterone is not great for overall balance and menstrual cycle health. We need correct amounts of progesterone to have a regular cycle. Also, having lower progesterone can cause an imbalance with progesterone and estrogen, and you might have something called estrogen dominance. So that is obviously not great when you're having too much estrogen in the body compared to progesterone. That's going to cause irregular cycles, that can cause worse PMS symptoms, that can cause things like infertility. It's going to just kind of mess with overall balance of those hormones together, and we obviously don't want that. So check in with your stress. If you are overly stimulated and overstressed during the day, please, please, please take a break, even if it's 5 minutes, just to work on some stress management techniques. My favorite one that I always recommend to clients, that I also do myself when I'm feeling this way, is breath work. So efficient, so easy to do. You need zero equipment and it can literally take anywhere from like 2 to 5 minutes. So it's very, very quick and efficient. I would recommend, if you're somebody who is highly stressed all the time, do it like 2 to 3 times a day. Just take a little break, do your breath work for a few minutes, and get back to work. But take that break in between these moments that you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm suffocating because I'm so stressed. Release that tension. Just sit there, deep breathe for a couple minutes, and you will feel those effects pretty much immediately. Just close, if you can, close your eyes too, and just breathe. Like, that is the easiest stress management technique, and so efficient. You can do that anywhere, and you will literally feel that tension come off of you after you are doing your breath work. So definitely check in with that one. Third thing I see really often is under eating all day. This goes back to kind of point one, but if you're skipping breakfast, maybe you're having a light lunch, and then you come home, maybe you have a bigger dinner because you're so hungry, or just throughout the day you think that you're eating really well because you're having nutrient-dense foods, but you're having very, very small portions of it. That can also be counted as under eating all day. Either one, this is not great. And what I mean by under eating, like I said, portion sizes are really small. If you're having like one of those pre-made cups of yogurt from the grocery store that you just like pick up, open up the plastic tab on top, and then you have that with like some granola mixed in, and that's your breakfast, and then you have a salad at lunch, and then you have like whatever you make for dinner, you are probably not eating enough. That yogurt cup is a snack. A salad is not really calorically dense, and if that kind of then makes dinner your biggest meal, and that's just not enough. So watch out for portion sizes. Even if you're eating really, really healthy things, watch out to see like what is the portion size, what is the food makeup, and kind of correct that as well. But under eating all day, number one, could lead to weight loss and low body fat percentages. If you have not enough body fat on your body, and I know this one might be hard to hear for a lot of people, especially women, because we are basically taught to lose weight, lose weight, lose weight. That's what was like drilled into our heads from day one. But if you have too low of body fat percentages, this can lead to a loss of your period or amenorrhea, and it can cause infertility and other issues as well. We obviously don't want a missing period. Your period is a sign of your health. Your period is your fifth vital sign. This is an indicator of how well your body is functioning. And so if you are not functioning well, obviously things are going to take a hit, one of those things being sex hormones. So you do want to have enough body fat to sustain a regular cycle and to help your body have a regular period. This would be minimum like 17% body fat for women. And I would even argue somewhere between like 20 to 23% body fat is ideal for regular cycles, a regular period, balanced hormones. That's what would be ideal. So at bare minimum, 17% body fat. You need that. Like, women always want to lose body fat, but we also don't understand that we naturally have more body fat than men because we have organs that men don't have, and we need to sustain life if and whenever that does happen for you. And so we absolutely need this for our sex hormones. It is vital. So don't just think like, I want to get to the lowest body fat percentage I can possibly get to, because that has its implications. Take me, for example, I don't even remember what body fat percentage I was at when I was in my eating disorder. I think it was like at, honestly, I want to say somewhere between like 12 and 15% body fat. Very, very low. And I did lose my period and the whole slew of problems. So make sure you have enough body fat percentage. Second part of this, not eating enough, you're not getting in the nutrients that you need. Your body needs certain vitamins and minerals to do proper functions, to transport minerals, to help with absorption of different minerals, to work on cellular functions. Like, we need specific vitamins and minerals in our diet to help with the overall functioning of our body. And if you are not eating enough, odds are you are not getting enough of those nutrients in through your diet. This is also going to impact your gut health. So not only is this detrimental for the functioning of our body on a cellular level, it also can impact our gut. Our gut microbiome is full of trillions of different bacteria, and they do feed off of different nutrients, good and bad bacteria. And when we don't give our body enough nutrients and variety in our diet and vitamins and minerals through diet, a lot of the times you can have gut dysbiosis, where there's an imbalance of good and bad bacteria. You're killing off some of that good bacteria because it's not thriving on food because you're under eating. And if you are having these just imbalances, whether that is gut dysbiosis, leaky gut, intestinal permeability, there's a lot of different gut things that could be going on with under eating, that all can impact your hormone balance. Your gut and your hormones work hand in hand together, and when one thing is off, the other is probably off as well. And usually we see a lot of the times gut health causing hormonal imbalances. Not necessarily that it doesn't happen the other way around, it can, but a lot of the times when you have a gut or when you have a hormonal imbalance, we want to check your gut as well, because those two go hand in hand. So we want to make sure that we're getting proper nutrients through our diet for functionality, and also to prevent any gut disruptions that may also harm your hormones as well. And the third part of this is kind of going back to, not having enough body fat percentage and not having regular cycles, but under eating can cause disruptions in ovulation, which can cause amenorrhea, which I kind of had mentioned, a missing period. If you are not ovulating, you cannot get pregnant, so it does cause infertility. So that's just highlighting that again, that it can definitely cause problems with ovulation because you are disrupting your sex hormone balance. So with all of those in mind, make sure that you are eating a proper amount of nutrients a day for yourself. You don't have to track macros to find that out. You can, and that's, a more efficient way to see how much you are currently having, but also just looking at your plate. Are you having 3 meals a day? Are you having less than that? Are you having a couple of snacks in between? What is the makeup of your meals? Are you getting a protein, carb, and fat source at every single meal? Are you just really having protein? Like, are you missing out on certain nutrients in your meals? Again, what does the portion size look like for you? Are you eating on a really small plate? Are you eating on a normal size meal plate? These are just kind of ways that you can see if you're eating enough or not. And also through biofeedback, if you're recovering properly, that's probably a good sign that you're eating enough. If you have really poor recovery, if you're really tired all the time, if you're moody, if you don't have a regular cycle and maybe you spot from time to time, or you have a shorter length or a longer length cycle, any kind of cycle disruptions, these are all signs that you are probably not eating enough and things need to pick up a little bit more. So that is point number 3, or habit number 3, I should say, that you might be doing without knowing that you're doing it, that can cause some hormone disruptions. Another habit that will cause hormone disruptions is staying up super late with no nighttime routine. If you are not getting your sleep, you are going to be damaging more than just your sex hormones, but it will impact your hormones as well. So again, staying up really late hours, you're impacting that cortisol cycle that we have. Remember, I talked about our natural cortisol cycle where it's higher in the morning and then tapers off throughout the night and it gets low at night. If you are up late, you're kind of disrupting that cortisol curve and can be kind of altering that curve a little bit, where we don't want that. We want cortisol to be low and you go to bed and you are in line with your cortisol curve, but by not doing that, it can increase cortisol and cause disruptions in your natural cortisol curve, which over time can really throw off your entire cortisol curve, and you'll have bigger issues at hand if that is the case. So nip that in the bud before you get to that point. It also can reduce your TSH, which basically, TSH is part of your thyroid panel, or like your thyroid health, and this basically means that you are potentially lowering your thyroid function by not getting your sleep. Sleep is important for so many things. Your thyroid is in control of a lot of things, controls your metabolism, goes hand in hand with your hormones as well, your sex hormones. So all of these things are interconnected. If you have low thyroid function, odds are that doesn't necessarily mean that it will, but it could end up with disruptions in your sex hormones as well, irregular cycles, and so forth. And staying up too late, not getting proper amounts of sleep, can also increase your estrogen production, which again, we don't want too much estrogen. We don't want an imbalance of estrogen and progesterone. That can cause estrogen dominance, which is going to cause another slew of problems down the line as well. And we just don't want this increased estrogen circulating around your body. We need to get rid of that and detoxify that out of the body, so that, one, again, back to functionality, you're functioning properly, and two, having too much circulating estrogen can cause not great things, like you can be at greater risk for certain cancers, and it's just not great. So we want to make sure that we are eliminating any excess estrogen, and this could be a cause of having increased estrogen. So with this, check your nighttime routines. There's what's called night hygiene, not hopping in the shower and cleaning yourself, but basically healthy habits at night is what that means. Are you someone who doom scrolls for hours into wee hours of the night? Like, are you up until like 11:30, 12 o'clock scrolling on your phone or watching Netflix or watching your favorite show or whatever that is? Are you somebody who does that? Do you have a nighttime routine? A lot of people don't even have one, and not necessarily that it has to be like a whole 10-step nighttime routine. It doesn't have to be, but you just want to make sure that you are getting your body into a state of sleep, of getting tired and winding down, so that you are able to fall asleep easier and have better, deeper sleep throughout the night. So your nighttime hygiene just affects your not only quantity and how many hours you sleep, but also the quality of your sleep as well. So set up a little routine for yourself. It doesn't have to be extensive. It doesn't have to be a 12-step thing. It can be simply that you wash your face and you, you read 10 pages in a book and you go to bed. Like, it could be something as simple as that, but find a routine that works for you. Stick with that, get to bed, so that you have absolute minimum 7.5 hours of sleep a night. If you can get 8, that's great. I know for some people it's not really realistic. If you're somebody who works really late hours and you get home really late, maybe that's not for you. Or maybe you are a parent and you have a child that you have to put to bed at certain hours, so maybe that's not realistic, but do your best to get 7.5 absolute minimum hours of sleep if you can. And set up that nighttime hygiene routine so you can have better quality sleep as well. And then the last habit that I see really often is over-exercising and or not exercising enough. Both of those things can affect your hormones, and so there's kind of a balance. There's like a sweet spot with exercise, and this is going to be different per person. Like, not everybody has the same sweet spot, has the same like volume or intensity that they can do in their exercising, but you want to find what is that sweet spot between not over exercising and not under exercising as well. So we do want to have some daily movement, whether that is simply going on a walk, going to the gym, doing a cardio session, whatever that looks like for you. You do want to have some daily movement. You want to have some form of low intensity exercise every day, I should say. So you should be going on a walk multiple times a week on top of getting to the gym. Because if you're somebody who goes to the gym in the morning and then you go to work and you sit down literally all day for like 12 hours out of your day, you are technically labeled as a sedentary person. You are not active. Even if you go to the gym 5 times a week, you are not an active person if you are sitting down all day, every single day of the week. You need to be getting up, you need to be getting moving. Your gym session, your planned gym activity makes up about 5% of your day in terms of calorie burn. But overall, like metabolic health, it's a really small portion of your day, and you want to be making sure that you are just moving more throughout the day. And that doesn't mean going on a 5-mile walk, but maybe you go to the gym in the morning, you work all day, you get home, you go for a 10-minute walk, and then you come back, make dinner, etc. So it's going to be different for everybody, but you do want to make sure that you have some light, low intensity activity on a daily basis, and then also add in some strength training. Strength training is going to be great for overall hormones and overall health benefits in general. So maybe do strength training like 3 to 5 days a week is great. And make sure that you're not overtraining. Overtraining can, again, going back to cortisol, can cause higher cortisol in the body, increase that stress response, enter into fight or flight mode, and we don't want that chronically high. So if you're over-exercising too much, that's chronically going to be high. Also, over-exercising can cause disruption in your sex hormones and can cause a loss of a period as well. Lower progesterone levels cause problems with ovulation. So again, it can cause a lot of disruptions to your overall sex hormones and health of your cycle. So you don't want to overtrain. Again, not exercising enough can also cause damage to your sex hormones, thyroid hormones, and again cause disruptions in cycle health too. So again, there's a sweet spot with exercise. You want to make sure that you're right in that middle spot for you personally. Again, it's going to be different person to person, but make sure that you are not overtraining or undertraining, and you want to have some form of light, low intensity exercise on a daily basis if possible. So those are 5 daily habits that I see people do without even recognizing that they're doing them, that can really cause disruptions in their hormone health. So make sure that you are checking in with all 5 of these things. Are you doing any of these things? If you're doing like 2, 3, 4, 5 of these things, let's dial that in. If you're doing one of these things, okay, it might not have too many effects on your body and your sex hormones, but ideally we want to not be doing any of these things if possible. So check in with yourself. Are these things that you're doing on a daily basis before you just point the blame on, oh, it's my hormones why I can't see progress, or any other reason? There's probably some sort of lifestyle habit that you're doing that is causing problems with your hormones, that is causing you to have problems with your progress. So it always, well, not always, but generally does stem back to lifestyle habits and something that you're doing that is causing this downward spiral of your health that's impacting your progress. So check in with your daily habits, see if you're doing any of these things, see what needs the most help out of all of these things, if anything at all, and start there, and then just try to adjust your habits to form more healthy habits. I kind of talked about how to change these habits and how to make them healthier, so hopefully you have some ideas already on how to change these habits for yourself. But if you need additional help on switching these habits, adopting better habits for yourself, my DMs are always open for you guys. You can reach out there, ask me any questions related to this or any other habits that you're doing that you think might need extra help, or even if it's not talking about habits and it's something else related to sex hormones or hormones in general, let me know. I'm here for you guys. I'm here to help. But hopefully this brought some light to you guys and what you're doing on a daily basis, and just checking in with yourself a bit more. But that concludes this episode. I will see you guys next week.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Health Club with Julia podcast. If you loved the episode, share the podcast and tag me, and subscribe so you don't miss any further episodes. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM. Thanks for being a part of the club. See you next time.